Hey there, welcome back there, you all furry degenerates. Today, I don't know if I really should start out this video insulting my audience. You know what, whatever, we're gonna keep it in. Hey there, welcome back everybody. Today we're gonna take a look over the Snowstorm updates and the patch notes and see how good it is. Let's get started. So, first things first, we're gonna skip past pretty much all this regarding around Snowstorm events, the leaderboards, the brand new pack, because all of that we're probably going to take a look at inside the game itself. So going over it in the patch notes just seems like a waste of time. So first off, we're just going to go all the way down to the parts, because that's all that really matters here. It's about the balance, baby. So first things first, all automatic shotguns. Now the sight of any automatic shotgun shows the current spread of the weapon instead of the rectangular I think I was trying to go for. Change this format of the pellet spread to the square to rectangular, now it corresponds to crosshairs. Now turn the weapon doesn't increase the spread, and the maximum firing range has been reduced from 100 to 60. So these are just the previous changes that were talked about way back in the mass patch changes or mass testing changes. So now they're actually implementing into the game because they actually found it to be pretty good. So that is very nice here. You definitely don't have to worry about any sort of long-range shotties now. So any of you with super brittle weapons, the crickets, the locusts, any machine guns really, this would be kind of nice. Now, as to whether or not people were really going to see too much noticeable changes, because the thing is that most shotgunners know to just absolutely ram you with a wedge, either throw in a chameleon or something like that with a super long cloak time. They all know what to do to actually effectively utilize it. People who are actually utilizing these automatic shotguns at an excessive 50 meters is still like, I'm trying to think of like how often that would happen, and I can't. I can't for the life of me figure it out. Alright, so now we'll take a look at the all melee weapons. The damage zone is now displayed in assembly mode, and you can no longer mount other parts in the area that deals damage. Crossing the area of parts is not allowed. And they say that it's primarily dealing with boars, so this is pretty much just a copy and paste from the test server. But let's see if they actually did implement it here. So I believe we do have a few melee weapons left. Dun dun dun. Yeah, see, we specifically have the boar here. And you can see, yep, they give you a giant radius, in which it's no longer allowed. Although, ironically enough, if you see the boar's damage zone here, it actually exceeds the model. So, in a way, you could still have the boar's model clip through. Interesting. Interesting. I wonder if that's intended behavior here. Curious, does that apply to any other weapons that we know of? Well, the issue is I sold all of my lacerator's because I got a decent profit on those, so I no longer have those. But let's see if we can still find them here in the technology tree if they still are displayed in the parameters section. They should for the most part. So, say, for example, let's go ahead and take a look at this. No, it's not listed when you do the F key to actually show it. I think it's only listed... let's take a look here. Is it the same thing for this? Yep, same thing here. Interesting. Well, I guess you can only see it once you actually have purchased a weapon. That's a bit of a downside. I feel like they should probably also apply that in the parameters section here, just so that you know what you're dealing with when you're actually purchasing a weapon. But you can see that's essentially what it's going to look like, a giant box around any sort of part. Which I guess kind of makes sense. You don't want people to kind of cheese it and just like throw it into a place that can't really be hit, but it can still be utilized. So I guess that's still kind of a good thing. Who knows? I'm not too worried about it, considering that melee weapons are still... Like, I don't think the biggest issue with them is that they're hard to shoot or covered in armor parts. It's just that as soon as you get touched by them, it seems that it's very hard to get them off you, especially if you ever have, like, that harpoon thing that's stupidly good. Next thing, all the cabins. Reduces time before the car flips without using the car jack from 30 to 20, so it just gives you an extra 10 seconds, reduces the time you're flipped on your stomach. Although considering that it's still incredibly easy to get killed while flipped over, probably not going to change a whole bunch, but I really don't get flipped over that much either. Unless I really mess up a jump or some sort, or I accidentally roll off too slowly off a cliff, I generally don't get flipped over. It's a very rare thing. Next, the tempura. The damage area has been improved. Interesting. The tempura was reduced and heavily buried inside the whole part. Now the issue is fixed, and effectively the weapons remain the same level. Interesting. So the tempura, that was that weird weapon you got from the Syndicate faction. Do I still have mine by any chance? Oh no, that's right. I don't have mine because when the Syndicate was around, it messed up and I couldn't actually purchase my battle pass. That's right. So it's this thing. Alright, well that's pretty cool. This thing's actually fixed up a smidgen. When considering the way this thing's designed, it can still easily be hidden inside a car. But as long as it can actually have a decent range, it still actually might be utilized. That was the biggest downside of the Tempura, was that it had a super small damage area. So unless you were like literally ass butt against somebody, it would never work. But now, I mean, wedgers can use it just because they just put it in the wedge build. You ram up somebody and then you start activating it. Then it works. But that's the only time it works. Anything else, it does not work. Next, the Emily here. The projectile explosion radius increased by 7% and the speed increased by 10%. So they heavily nerfed that. That was like, what, up there in the 30% range previously? But definitely will help that out be a lot more accurate and a lot more useful. The Pyramid here, the perk bonus increased from 12 to 15 and the duration increased from 5 to 8. So definitely going to be a lot more useful. I'm not sure if it's going to be still more useful in combat, but considering that I think the Pyramid is the special version, it should actually heavily benefit from that. Anything that can actually allow you to position more effectively, it's still going to be highly sought after. So definitely very nice. I actually wonder if that's increased the price. Nope, still no one's using it. Next we have the automatic cannon, the median, which is like the one-shot cannon type of deal. So projectile speed increased by 17%, so that's actually pretty good. That allows it to actually be decently used at a long distance, because the slower it is, it's really hard to use at a long distance. But now it actually can just like instantly get there. Next we have the nail gun, the Sumitool. As the shot charge increases, the weapon rotation speed increases, so it basically just allows it to effectively turn and pump a couple of shots out before it just gets absolutely massacred. Which is alright. I mean, considering that this thing has a fairly useful perk when it's fully charged up that can easily strip a lot of weapons, this will be very nice. Now, if you could actually increase the charge speed on it, it would make it like basically meta. Next, we have the explosive boom here. The explosion radius reduced by 10% here. Okay, apparently this thing was fairly efficient. I mean, the thing is, I never deal with power scores low enough for that thing to ever be common. Because I feel like this thing like pretty much falls out of favor right around the 6k range. So I'm kind of curious as to like what power score this thing is dominating in. Next, we have the epic parts here, the plasma rocket launcher, the Yokai. Now the weapons perk increases the blast radius by 100% instead of 70% earlier. Ooh, okay, so that's actually pretty good. The physical size of the projectile has been reduced by 33%. So interesting here. Much smaller, but actually fairly decent. And the blast radius on this too. Is the blast radius on this thing fairly large to begin with? Let's take a look at it. What's the perk again? If the rocket doesn't hit the enemy, its blast radius damage is increased by 40% and the blast radius increases by 100%. The damage doesn't decrease as you move away from the center of the blast. Interesting. So you kind of actually want to hit around the enemy, but not the enemy itself. That means if you actually just shoot the ground straight up near the enemy, you do a shitagi ton more damage. So let's see. So direct hit, that's around 100 and 256 off to the side. Okay, wow, that is a lot more substantial radius. Okay, okay. It's kind of difficult though, because you got to aim just like right for. Wow, I completely went under that car. Interesting. So a perk like this actually needs you to get pretty close. Oh wow, wow. Even that close, that thing didn't hit it. Yeah, there we go. Now it actually hits. So if you hit just like right underneath this car, boom, it like blows it up. Nice. Nice. That must be one of those new pack weapons I haven't had too much experience with yet. And I say I haven't been in Crossout for a hot second here, so a lot of stuff I don't know yet. So pretty nice, pretty nice. So the actual physical size of the projectile being reduced actually does help out a lot then. Because that means you can actually get a lot closer without just going instantly. And now the actual radius increasing by 100% in 770 actually does make it a lot more useful. Because that thing needs to have a stupendously large radius to make up for the fact that you can't directly hit somebody with it for the weapon damage. So now we have the defense module, the Avergua. The module now increases the damage resistance of any part attached to the power nodes, including cabins and moving parts. So exciting with that. That's basically just the changes from earlier. Elephant perk duration increased by 1 second from 3 to 4. Not too bad. Basically makes it a bit more useful and longer lasting. The Yokai, the durability has increased the drone by 173 to 223. So nice increase of I think 50 points, which is not too much, but it's a decent couple of machine gun rounds, making it a lot more survivable. And the length of first drum burst when attacking is always equal to the duration of the perk, which now, let me take a look at the actual duration of the perk. Drone deals increased damage for the first few seconds. Okay, well again, that's not even accurate. Because now we don't even know what second does it actually mean. Does a few mean like 3? Does it mean several? Because the thing is, few is a kind of a relative term. It's not an absolute term. Sure, they say it's 3 or more, but even then, that's still kind of loosely used, but thank you. Alright, well at least now it's always equal, so now you can actually get the full duration of its perk. During activation, targeting times have been slightly reduced, so that's good. That thing needs a lot more reduction than that. Because otherwise, it's just basically a really crappy version of an aerial drone. But now with this, it should actually be like somewhat useful. Because when you throw this into the thicket of battle, it's super easy for it to get destroyed. Next, the Thresher here, projectile speed increased by 33%. Okay, so they kept this one up there. And maximum spread reduced by 17%. So this thing is going to be a lot more accurate. Whoo boy! The main thing with this is that for bots that utilize this weapon, they're going to become like gods with it. Because anything with grenade launchers, with drones and their like pinpoint accuracy, or AI I should say, with their pinpoint accuracy, it is awful dealing with them. I mean, there's a reason why when grenade near drones were very popular and we had bots with them, it was basically a free win. Now with the plasma gun, the Quasar, the cannon reloads for 0.5 seconds faster, 5 seconds instead of 5.5, and the projectile speed increased by 25%. So, common theme, a lot faster. Next, we got the nail gun argument here. Damage increased by 8% as the shot is charged. Weapon rotation speed increases. So, essentially the same thing as the Sumator. So, perfect for them. So, essentially makes it a lot more accurate for pinpointing. Which, again, I think bots with this are going to benefit the most. Next, we have the cabin, the favorite. The cabin's perk still prevents heat in the mounted weapons and modules, but the duration of the vehicle depends on the minimum heating time of all the weapons mounted on the vehicle. The longer the minimum heating time, the longer the bonus lasts. So I'm actually wondering if the unintended perk of this, or downside of this, is that people are going to have like their main weapons, and then one cheap weapon that has a very long heat time, just so the actual perk itself lasts longer. So say, for example, someone's using like basic machine guns, but then they throw an equalizer on there, just so that the equalizer can then utilize the favorite perk more. Or say someone throws on an aura, and then they throw on like a couple of other machine guns to utilize it, so they always have the aura going, just so they can get that nice, good favorite perk. I wonder if that's going to be a strategy. It could be, but of course it also means that you have to have like 2 different keybinds going. So next, the legendary parts, the autocannon Steel Wind perk duration increased from 2 to 3. Burst length of overheating is 2 shots, and the shot spread is reduced by 25%. So you're able to be a lot more accurate, add long distances, and a lot more sneaky with it. Although to be fair, the Steel Wind, it's still not like a terribly effective weapon. I still don't see anyone really utilizing it. But okay, I guess at least it's something that actually like fits it more into its theme better. The Fortune Mine Layer, the blast damage increased by 8%. That's fine, the Fortune doesn't really do that much damage anyway, so go ahead. Now the cannon of the Tsunami actually now has like explosive penetrating rounds, as now the point of explosion is shifted further if the bullet damage shot off by any vehicle part. So if you have a super light like cosmetic part, it can just penetrate through that and you're fine. Which would actually be very beneficial there. Because a lot of the time, if you had any sort of skirt armor on your vehicle, they could basically block an entire cannon shot or multiple. So now having this actually makes it so it's a lot less effective, but still useful. Now the plasma gun, the pulsar projectile speed increased by 20%. So again, very useful for a lot of those long distance shots. And now we have the Nidhogg here. Damage increased by 5% and durability increased from 340 to 357. So I actually wonder if that does help out a lot, having that only extra 17 points of increase in durability. Of course, damage is damage. That's always nice, better for stripping potential as always. But I wonder if that durability of like really 17 points is really enough to actually change it to be optimum. It must have been a very small deficiency. And now the Mandrake too, that consuming 1 less point of energy, it's going to make this thing a bit more useful on heavy cabin building. You'll see it become a lot more common, because now you won't have to use super light cabins. So you'll actually be able to do some decent damage with this potentially. Plus, on super light builds, that means you have more energy, so you can either reduce your generator size, reduce your power score, or you can add on more utility things like a mine layer or something like that. Although I think the mine layer requires 4 points of energy, so that might not be the case. Next, the Mechanist here. Now the bonus of the weapon's durability doesn't depend on the current vehicle's durability. It is now determined once at the beginning of the battle and no longer changes. So it's really great, keeps the cabin Mechanist perk useful for the entire game instead of actually changing throughout, especially if you had an exposed cabin build that could make its perk dramatically much less useful. Next, the Shotgun, the Pasa. So they actually did go through with the balance changes here. Reload time increased from 2 seconds to 2.6, so a pretty hefty increase, not gonna lie. That's a big one. Like a 50% increase, essentially. No, 25% increase. That's still a lot. Maximum range is decreased by 25%, so again, a lot. Optimal firing range reduced by 20%, which again, quite a bit. This thing basically becomes much less of a sniping weapon. And change the format of the pellet spread from a square to a rectangular, now it corresponds to the scope. So, again, that's just with all automatic shotguns, I suppose. So at least this regard, it actually does make it a bit less able to fire rapidly and fire super accurately, especially at long distances. So it makes a shotgun more like a shotgun, per se. So I think that's all the part changes here, so what do you guys actually think about it? Is it good overall? Yay or nay? Did you actually get the perks that you wanted to see change through? Other than that, guys, I think that'll be it. We'll go ahead and take a look now at the brand new year pack, the Wind from the North here. You know, what's actually interesting about this pack is that they went for a portrait here that's slightly different. It's not the actual Santa Claus this year. It is now Banana Rhyme. So you can go ahead and take a look at that. Or actually, I guess you really can't read it with my furry face in the way. You have to go in game and actually look at it. Beyond that, they also have a couple of new backgrounds here. A Christmas-themed one, a Lights-themed one, and we also get about 4,000 coins here. What are the features that we get with this? We get a unique armored car here, which is definitely this. Very festive. A new character portrait, Vanilla Rhyme. New epic cabin, the icebox, which has been the same for a long time. The hologram of snowing, the decor of fairy lights, painted cans, a set of stickers, a background logo, 4,000 coins, and parts increased to 66. So let's take a look here. So we get the member of the expedition little sticker here. Not too bad. Still pretty jazzy. Very, of course, Christmas themed. The chromed out or the horror rhyme paint. Is this essentially just like the... I mean, yeah, this kind of looks like a traditional chrome paint. Like, it doesn't look that much different than the one you get from the Kinect Riders event. Or like the aluminum paint that you can get from an old pack. It's slightly more shiny. Or the steel metal plate that you can get from the Kinect Riders event. Yeah, this one's a bit more rusty looking. It has a lot more brown in it. But it's really hard to see the difference, to be honest. Next, Icebox Cabin. That's just the Icebox Cabin. Still get the Snowfall rocket launcher. Oh, and the hologram. Oh yeah, and the fairy lights here. These are what everyone's going to be kind of wanting, I feel like. Because the fairy lights do look pretty cool. I'm actually curious. Does this thing actually light up? Oh yeah, see, they do. That's pretty jazzy. That's pretty jazzy. So it's actually not too bad. I would say it's pretty much exactly the same thing from last year, because essentially is the exact same thing from last year. Even still got the same rocket launchers too. Still got to charge them up and launch them in a big old volley. They still do a nice, decent chunk of damage. But honestly, they're still not even in their optimal configuration out on this car. You definitely still need to really utilize these things on, like, hovers. And man, do they really have a steep drop-off here. You really gotta, like, heavily lean that off in the distance. But they can still do a really good amount of damage. And now you can actually see the snowfall camouflage. Man, that is very hard to see. My goodness, let's go in the garage so we can actually see this. Yeah, you can see it's like actual snowfall coming down onto your car. But man, is that super faint. You could not see that at all if you're outside anywhere in a light background like the garage right now. They might have to make it a bit more... less opaque for you to actually see it. Because right now, take a look at it. It's a bit more obvious against that, but then you put it against the white backdrop and ooh, basically becomes invisible. And you gotta kind of find it too, how the actual particle effects don't follow you around like a hologram, but it's like it's actually emitting a particle effect that then literally just like doesn't stay with your car. Interesting. Interesting. So the fact is that it follows your car is kind of odd. Because it's like, it's literally meant to be a hologram. It's projections of light. How does like a projection of light not stay with you? Alright. We'll go with that. And then beyond that, we also have a couple of other cosmetic parts here. Such as the halogen headlamps, which look quite nice. Small, short little fairy lights. And then a couple other standard square covering parts that you could buy on the auction house for honestly pretty cheap here. Interesting. All the chimney pipes are completely out of stock here. So that's kind of funny. But quite a few other of them, you could probably purchase them. Ooh, no. You can't actually do this? Oh yeah, these are completely non-tradable. Yeah, so you can't get these off the marketplace. But you can get these small fairy lights too. And you can see those are getting quite expensive too, at roughly around 70 coins. So, pretty jazzy. I'm sad that it's not an actual unique car this year. The only thing they've really made unique here is a slight bit of cosmetics, which I suppose is something for those who are really into the cosmetic scene. But for someone like me who kind of likes a lot more function with their parts, it's alright. But considering that it's also better than having them make a super meta weapon that is incredibly powerful, that actually might be a better thing. Honestly, they could have just gone with a new build with a same set of weapons, and I probably would be a bit more ecstatic about that. Or maybe just a better value, too, because honestly, this thing's, what, 60, 70 bucks? It's 849 coins, and so at the optimal of... Oh, wow. I'm in the wrong one section entirely. For the optimal selection here of 1,500 coins for $100. So that's 15 coins per dollar. So let's see. In that case, we have to put that yield calculator here. So we'll just run it up to 850, so it's easier for calculations. So, whoa! This thing is nearly... What the fuck? This thing is expensive, holy crap! I mean, of course, at least it's not like the 60 bucks here. But my god, 56 bucks for this thing? I mean, I'm just trying to think of like what would justify that. Because none of these parts are terribly exciting or good. But wow, that is expensive. Holy shnikes. I mean, of course, you get 4,000 coins, so it's better than buying straight up coins. But still, nearly $56, $57 for this? No. No. Oh my god. But then you literally see right off the distance here, another $65 car here. But of course, with this, you actually get the garage, too. So for like 10 bucks more, you actually do get the fancy garage here that does look very spiffy, very techno-y. So it seems kind of funny. Like, these things are only 10 bucks off, but yet for some reason I feel like this one has a lot more value than this super expensive one here that has really not a terribly whole lot going for it. Because a lot of these weapons are not terribly good, unique, or interesting. But, alright, of course, I guess that's something there. But let me know what you guys think actually about that lovely little drone there. Is it good? Yay or nay? Let me know down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.